Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Speak Up with Laurel Libby, where we talk to the folks who are making a difference and discuss the issues that impact our everyday lives. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you consume podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Maddy Curtis, a young conservative woman here in Maine who is passionate about politics, history, personal convictions, and living a grounded life in today's culture. Maddy lives in Pembroke, where her deep family roots and love for her community have bound her to this state, and we're so glad that it has. She's an enthusiastic member of the Washington County Republicans and was recently elected state committeewoman for the WCRC. Maddy is also the head organizer for the Freedom's Legacy Conference that took place in January of this year. She's a homesteader in training, and she works as a home caretaker for a local elderly woman. Today, we're going to be talking about how values shape the way that we live, why history still matters, and what it looks like to pursue a meaningful and wholesome life in modern society. Thank you so much for joining us today, Maddy. We are delighted to have you here at the Lead Maine headquarters for Speak Up with Laurel Libby.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're delighted. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. That's quite an amazing bio for such a young woman. But tell us a little bit more about yourself and what got you interested in politics in the first place.
Well, I would say history got me interested in politics. I heard stories I was homeschooled, so I heard stories from my mother telling me through homeschool about these warriors in our history, George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and Alvin York, these guys that were warriors in our nation who fought for freedom, and it inspired me. And then we went to Virginia at one point and saw the D-Day Memorial, and I knew I wanted to be more involved after that. It was a very impactful visit, and it just kind of took off from there, I guess.
That's amazing. My start in politics did not come because of history. I've learned more along the way, but it was more how politics was impacting me and my family. And so it's wonderful to hear, you've gotten involved from such a younger age, and because of the education that you received. Tell us a little bit more about ways that you've been engaged and involved, like the Freedom Conference.
Well, I really saw that my community and the people around me weren't remembering these warriors in history as well, and I didn't want that to be forgotten. And so there was a man in my community who really inspired me as well. He's Dale Shannon, and he was a veteran, and he took me under his wing a little bit and invited me to flag burnings and patriotic things that they would do at the Legion Hall in my town, and be a part of the 4th of July committee in town. He really encouraged me to do those things and that's kind of where it started, and then it kind of took off from there. My father, he's been a part of the Republican committee for a while, and so just having him around, that constant influence and encouragement, and of course he's an inspiration as well. Just being a part of it all, I guess, it just helped me be a part of the committee.
Just organically through life.
Yep. Absolutely.
I love to hear that.
Gradual.
Yeah, the gradual engagement, gradual learning and getting more and more engaged, kind of naturally, it sounds like.
I don't want what these men to be fought for to be lost. Mm-hmm. So, another thing is you started the dinner table all those years ago. That inspired me as well. It got me rolling in another way, the ball rolling another way. You came to Perry with the dinner table. And I remember you sitting down at the table and talking to me. And I think that was one of the first times I had met you. And you were very kind to me and very patient. And that was 2022. And you asked me, so what are the issues that you think are important in the state of Maine? And I had no idea, absolutely no idea. I loved history.
Yeah.
And maybe national politics a little more. I was involved in that, trying to keep track. But I didn't do Maine politics at all. And I remember leaving that thinking, oh, that's not a good thing, to not know about my own state politics. and not be able to answer that question. So I took a little more responsibility after that. So thank you for asking me that question. I had no answer for you at the time, but you inspired me, and you nudged that along a little bit.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because certainly here at Lead Maine, we want people to understand that it's the government that's closest to us that impacts us the most, and of course that's local government.
Absolutely.
And but I love that you're tying like your passion for history with getting involved current day, because we have to preserve our freedoms and liberties that we have. And I think those two fit together really, really nicely. We have seen, look, you are, I feel quite grandmotherly sitting here next to you, Maddy. You are the next generation. And we're seeing the next generation be enthusiastic and engaged and involved, I think to a level that maybe we haven't in the recent past. Why do you think that that is?
I think Charlie Kirk had a huge impact on that, especially after last year. There's a lot of people that have woken up, realized this is not okay. What's going on right now is not okay. He had a huge impact. There's a lot of, I've seen for years now, been watching and praying about these male warrior figures rising up in our nation. I think of Nick Freitas and John Lovell. They're inspiring because they're leaders and they're leading in the right direction. So I think that has a huge impact. The males of the country, I think that having them in leadership is one of the most important things, and one of the biggest reasons why the youth would be moving more towards conservatism, republicanism, politics, and stuff like that.
Yeah. How much do you think that like a fear of speaking up has impacted that in the past? Do you think that there was a desire to get involved, but a fear at the same time? Because, people you're talking about have been bold, like served as bold examples of just speaking the truth and not backing down from it. Yeah. Do you think that is kind of that impetus?
I think of my father. When he told me all the time about his experience in high school, and I was homeschooled, like I said, so I need to be told about these things. And he always talks about how it's so much different. The world is so much different than it was when he was in high school. The teachers that he had in high school were uninspired, and they're just, he talks about his history teachers just making you memorize dates, not telling you the stories behind these amazing men. Nathan Hale, like, they're incredible.
I feel like maybe we should just have story time with Maddy.
I don't know if I could do that much, but just there's a lot of passion to be found in these heroes. And I always go back to that, of course, because that's where I find my passion. But I guess I'm just talking about the passivity and the just get these kids through school that the teachers had when my father was young, when he was going through school. And I don't think it's much better now in the schools. I don't think it's much better. And I do think that all changed with Charlie. I really do. There's a lot more to it than just that, I know, but he's one of the big ones. He gave everyone in this country a big brother figure to look up to and say, it's okay to speak up. It's okay to be different,
Yeah.
And I think that another part of the passivity that the country has had that's, I feel, has recently changed, is the fact that we know we're free. In this country, we're free. We're just living. We're just working every day, especially in Maine. Just go back to work, mind my own business. Just do the next thing. And we don't realize that our freedom is slowly being sucked away. We don't realize. We're just living and, we'll put up with it. We don't want the hassle of speaking up. We don't want the work.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely identify with that. Our family was living our life, just raising kids, and
Got enough work to do.
we got enough to do until we realized, like, there are things going on that will end up impacting us.
Absolutely.
And that we didn't know already were impacting us. When you look at the economy in Maine and the way that we're impacted on literally an everyday level. And I think as folks wake up to that, I remember knocking on a gentleman's door in Minot in 2024, and he told me, he was about my age, and he told me he was voting for the first time that year.
Wow.
He had just registered to vote, and we had this conversation. He is a big Second Amendment enthusiast, loves to hunt, fish, very much an outdoorsman, and up to that point had just kind of thought, well, I just want to live my life and be left alone. He literally said those words. I just wanted to live my life and be left alone. And then with seeing some of the gun legislation going through Augusta, he caught wind of that and went, what is going on? This could impact, this area of life that I really care about. And so he voted for the first time.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And everybody wakes up to it at a different time. It is wonderful.
Yeah.
And whether you're waking up to it as, a teen and then young adult or an older adult, middle-aged, wherever that case may be, wonderful. I mean, that's fantastic. How do we maintain, do you think, continue to engage young people, kind of maintain the momentum that we currently have, where we're seeing an influx of young people who are interested in politics and want to engage and might not know how to do it? How do we make sure that we don't kind of lose these folks and lose the momentum?
I think passion is contagious. I think if we constantly are asking ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing? I think that's contagious. That makes me think of Dave Whitney.
Yeah.
He's our chair for the Washington County Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Washington County Republicans, we didn't really exist.
Yep.
And then we put together this dream team, this executive committee. It's incredible. And it's blown up. For Washington,
in a good way.
In a really good way. In a really good way.
Yeah.
And, but he gets up there. He's respectful in the way he directs the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
He's passionate, excited, encouraging people to have their own ideas. And we come back some of us come back for the entertainment, he's so charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what will change things around here.
I love Washington County meetings.
I know.
I've been to a number of them.
But I think that young people want energy.
Mm-hmm.
They want a reason. And I think that if we are asking ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing? Mm-hmm. What is the meaning and what is the root idea for what we're doing? And then you share that with somebody else. Mm-hmm. And it's contagious.
Yeah.
It is.
I think sometimes we get caught in the trap of, doing the same thing the same way for a long time, and that stagnates. And what you guys have seen up in your county is kind of a revolution of how things are done. Yes. And that's exciting and inspiring to people. And I think one piece that I see is, sometimes as things are done the same way for a long time, things do stagnate a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think the next generation doesn't want to do something just because it's the way it's always been done, but do something because it's going to produce. Like, none of us want to waste our time, right? But I think, if you know that you're going to have an impact, you know that your action, your time investment is going to actually produce fruit, then on top of being inspired, I think that's when you see people engage and stay engaged.
Yeah. We will produce fruit if you're doing things for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing things for the wrong reasons, everything's around you is going to die, and everybody else around you is going to feel nasty. And I've seen that too. You run around with all grumpy and just doing your thing, and nobody's joining you, and you make what you're doing the best.
Well, that's like the you focus instead of like
absolutely.
the passion for the cause that you all have with a common purpose.
Yeah, it is.
So when you think about your personal convictions and that where they come into how you got involved in politics and why you got involved in politics, what what of your personal convictions matter the most to you, and impact what you get involved with and how?
Well, I'm a Christian first. God is my king, and he says in the Bible to seek the welfare of the land that you're in. Charlie said that all the time. And it was a good reminder. Gave me permission, to seek the welfare. He was like a big brother, of course. But part of that conviction is God has his own perspective on the way life should be lived. Maybe that's not a perfect way of saying that, but I hope you get the point. He doesn't want us, he asks us not to murder, not to steal. There's a whole section in the 10 Commandments where we can look to those and follow. We can't be perfect at that. That's why he sent Christ. But in relation to that, from that to convictions in relation to politics, that law, thou shalt not murder, very important. This whole country is fighting for the right to abortion. I think that is one of the biggest issues in this nation right now. We would fight for the right to murder people. It's not seen like that. People don't think of it in that way, but that's what it is. And that's enough for me.
Yeah.
To be involved. I want to fight for what God says is good and true.
And fight for the voiceless.
Absolutely.
Well, that certainly, that I think tells us where your strong values and morals come from. Do you think that our culture has shifted? I obviously think I know your answer to that. Do you see our culture continuing the shift that we have been for a while? Do you think that there's a drawing back to those core values, to those biblical worldview, biblical values?
I think there is a little bit. I also see people, it's like there's a divided line. I see people realizing that Christianity, or even just as simple as these good morals, that's killing a child, and even besides that matter, but they step all the way to the right. This is not okay. Okay, I'm fully involved. I'm dedicated to this cause, not just down the middle. And then there's people that seem to be absolutely defiant against that, and they go the absolute extreme, the opposite direction. Absolutely. So we're not down the middle very much anymore.
We are seeing that divide. You're right. You kind of see these extremes. Yeah. And do you think it's that, everyone is so extreme, or that those folks who are like really paying attention to politics kind of polarized to these two directions, while there's this pool in the middle that is maybe just like, I was living life and not paying attention, just voting every couple of years when civic duty called for?
I think that would be true. I think that college has a lot to do with that too, because there are a lot of people that are just going through college, and a lot of people that are just trying to just get through and just tuck their head down and not pay attention to the wrong and the things they're being taught. They're just getting the good grade. They'll say whatever they're supposed to say to get the good grade. And then there's people that go the absolutely opposite extreme where they, like I think of the LGBTQ, where that's the people you see a lot of the time that are out there and really forcing their beliefs in the school system and, all these educational systems.
Well, we've seen that in our state, right? The very recent example of having biological males participating in girls' sports. The vast majority of Mainers do not agree with that. They think that's an extreme stance, an extreme agenda, to be allowing boys to be, taking girls' place, pushing them aside, and kind of making them invisible. And most Mainers do not agree with that. Yeah. But the folks who do agree with it really, really loudly.
They're loud.
Really loudly. Really, that polarized extreme left. And so it seems like that must be the majority sometimes, right? Because it's so loud. I mean, we see it in our press. We see it, obviously mainstream media. We see it. But polling even demonstrates it is not the majority of folks. But you're right.
Yep.
Some people sometimes don't want to speak up. And, pre Charlie Kirk, I think a lot more people didn't want to speak up. But I guess we're coming full circle around to people are a little bit more willing to be bold now. And I hope that continues to grow, that contingent of folks who are willing to speak up, to speak to their morals and standards and that biblical worldview.
Yeah. So we've got to learn to be loud. We've got to learn to be loud. They're loud. We can be louder. There's more of us sometimes. For most issues, there's more of us. We can be loud. We're not taught to be loud very well. We don't do loud very well in this state. We're very just, like we've talked before, like we've said before, it's just we're very subdued and quiet. And we fold our hands, we sit in our chair, and we stare forward and do our thing, keep our head down, don't
Live
say
life,
anything.
get work done.
And that's great. It's peaceful. You just do your job and keep going. But it's time now. They're really loud. And it's not over good things. We got to be loud back. It's okay to be loud.
It is. It's okay to be loud. It's okay to tell the truth, to speak up. Why do you think people feel maybe disconnected or unsettled? I think that there's some in the face of that, the loud minority. It's easy to feel kind of isolated and like you are the minority. Yeah. And you're declaring it's not the minority. The majority has common sense views and agrees with each other, so why not say it loud and proud?
Well, like I've heard several times from people around me, they all say, I'm tired of staring at the TV and yelling. So they think they're alone. So then you go to be a part of your local Republican committee. Be a part of it. You're not alone. You're not alone. There's so many of us out there. But I think that we're also very sensitive in this state. Very sensitive. We're ready to be offended. We're too ready.
I don't know that that's exclusive to Maine, Maddie.
No, but it's not.
I think that's not unique to Maine, but you're right. We are quick to take offense and say, like, I'm offended by X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that really shuts down conversation.
It does. Somebody in the Republican committee does one thing you don't like, and then you're just gone because what are you going to do? You're just not going to fight the fight anymore because you don't like somebody's hairdo or something. Somebody said something, it irked you just enough. Yeah. Or you didn't get the last piece of pizza at the meeting. Oh, too bad.
It's true. I remember getting a text from a Democrat colleague when I had given a speech on the floor, and I used a phrase that they were offended by. And it was a colleague that we have had a good relationship and a back and forth, and we had to agree to disagree. It was not offensive, but they took offense, and we did discuss it and agreed to disagree, like I said. Yeah. But I appreciate that individual did bring it up to me instead of letting it fester. And I think if we are willing to have those conversations rather than just get offended and blast someone or disappear out of their lives, that would be a lot more productive and happier in society.
That's a huge part of it too. Yeah. Being able to talk to each other. Maybe what they're doing is wrong. You don't just, or maybe what you're doing is wrong. You shouldn't be so offended that somebody would ask you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we are so polarized in part because of an unwillingness to talk. And recently on the podcast, we had the ACLU in to talk about some privacy issues, and I've heard from a few folks since then that was it was surprising to them, and they were a little bit like, what's going on? These are not folks that we should be friends with. And I said, we align on this issue. Yes. We're going to work together on this issue.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep talking about the issues that we don't agree on. But I think it's important that we keep those conversations going and find common ground where we can. We know. Me and the ACLU, we know where we don't agree.
Yeah.
But we have common ground where we do. And so let's continue to talk and have those conversations. And maybe at some point, you know, all of society will be able to talk instead of hate on each other.
Just because they're on the opposite side doesn't mean they're evil and should be thrown in the trash entirely. They're still human. There's some good things in them. Most of them.
You know, Maddy, you've talked a lot about the importance of history.
Yeah.
Why do you think that understanding history matters so much today?
It gives us reason. It gives us a legacy to continue, and it inspires us. As I keep saying, you know, talking about inspiration. Passion and inspiration are my big things. And, if they did it before us, we can do it. A lot of those people in the past, our history, they made through some worse things than we think is awful now. You know, I was thinking about William Wilberforce on the way over. Like
he is inspirational.
Yeah, he was England. He was in England, but
so for our
still,
listeners who might not be familiar with Wilberforce, why don't you give a little synopsis?
William Wilberforce was a slavery abolitionist in England in the early 1800s, and he fought for years to get slavery abolished.
And when we're talking about years, Maddy, I mean, we're talking about a lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, when he came to the cause as an adult, it literally was his cause to his death as an old man. I mean, so we're not talking about like, 8 years, 4 cycles, or it was a lifetime effort. So sorry.
We think 2 years is long sometimes. I just remember him. I'm like, ooh. But it wasn't just about that 40 years. I can't remember exactly, but he was extremely sick person. He was very sick, and he still fought through all that to go and to speak up against slavery, and it looked like there was no progress. But he knew in his heart that's what God wanted him to do. He knew it, absolutely. And he just kept going, and it was slowly killing him, kept going back, speaking against slavery, telling them, showing them the things that would happen to these slaves. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. So, like, beating an old drum with this, with our own abolition of abortion. It's awful. So I think of him with the abolition of slave trade in relation to our pursuit of the abolition of abortion.
You know, it is remarkable to see the lifetime effort that he did. And like you said, 2 years seems like a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, I've served under the Democrat majority for 3 terms. 6 years feels like a very long time. But when you look at it with that perspective of seeing the effort of someone like Wilberforce, where it was a life effort, and it was his calling. It was his calling. It puts a new perspective on engagement and involvement in politics and government, and it inspires me certainly because we have these 2-year election cycles where it feels like you're living and dying on this short timeline. And I hear candidates say, I've heard many candidates say this cycle and last and the one before that, this is the most important election of our lifetime. If we don't win now, we're never going to win. If we don't win now, Maine is lost. And I don't agree with that at all. First of all, I have to say, the signs, the numbers that I see, the direction that Maine is headed, I see Maine turning around in the future. And I see a long-term conservative Maine, and that's certainly what Lead Maine is working towards. But it is, maybe it should be discouraging, but it's actually encouraging to me to see an example like Wilberforce, where it was not quick, and he did not see progress for many, many years, but he knew it was his calling, and he continued to serve and grow over time a coalition of people who fought alongside him. And I think that's important an important perspective to bear in mind when we experience setbacks, to not let go of the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
And the bigger goal for our state, which is not dependent on a certain outcome in one specific year, but is determined by the hard work of many who keep the goal in mind and work towards it steadfastly.
Yeah.
That's very inspirational.
Absolutely. I was thinking about, like, you could say about Wilberforce that he didn't have much of a life. You know, you could say,
true.
like,
That's true.
when you talk about his life, it's like one thing. He did one thing for his whole life. And, I mean, of course, there's more to him than that. But if you looked at him, his resume or something,
Yes.
you say, okay, he helped abolish the slave trade. Took him forever. He did it. And nowadays, people look at your resume and want to see everything you've done in your life as a huge list. They want to see all your accomplishments. And I think that's humbling. Like, sometimes God just wants us to focus on one thing. He made us, we were born for that one task. And that inspires me to, when those thoughts about your life being not much, or maybe it's for nothing, you'll just be another person that just lives and dies, you know.
You're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was a piece in the puzzle. I was a brick in the wall to keep things strong, you know, until my kids and my grandkids, or even just my nieces and nephews, can live in this state well. It's not meaningless. You're not the sum of your accomplishments. The abolishment of the slave trade is huge. That is a big one.
That is a big one.
For me, it is a reminder.
It is. I think it gives perspective.
Yep.
It takes a little bit of a weight off.
Yeah.
That, you know, the whole future is not resting on just your shoulders.
Yes. You don't have to do everything.
You don't have to do everything.
I need that reminder a lot, because I will try to do everything. I will.
I hear you on that.
It's a lot to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beautiful things in this world, a lot to live for. I want to soak it all up, but sometimes it's just focus on making supper. You know, just that little task.
I have kind of a two-part question. Do you think that there are parts of history that we're forgetting that we need to remember? You know, I think of the quote, you know, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it.
Absolutely.
And how does remembering and understanding history help us better understand now? So it's, you know, two-part question there for you, Maddie.
Okay. Well, I would say there's not just a part of history that we're forgetting. I'd say we're only told pieces when we're taught with curriculums in schools. We're only told pieces. I love Audible. You can just go on there and type in Revolutionary War, and you get a great big library of all these books, and you can just hit play, and I can go out in the garden and listen for hours and learn all kinds of stuff.
That's amazing.
I was never taught about the Culper spiring in school. Just recently learned about them. I would recommend. They are heroes in the background.
Okay, I'm making a mental list of all of the links I need you to send me to listen to after this.
Culper spiring was amazing. They're the hidden heroes of the Revolutionary War.
Okay, I've never heard of them, I'll be honest.
I would really recommend.
Okay,
looking
so
them up.
tell the story.
There's a lot of detail.
Give us like a little bit of the backstory here.
Let's see if I get the names right. Let's see how much I've learned here. This is a recent.
Okay.
Townsend, Talmadge, Woodhull. Okay, let me make sure I get them all in order. Benjamin Talmadge was a young officer for George Washington, commissioned with collecting men to spy on the British in Long Island.
Okay.
That is intense. It's a huge task.
Very
Long
intense.
Island is taken by the British
And
entirely.
I love that this is like 250 years, right?
Yes.
We're at 250 years here in America, so this is perfect timing.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
So, Talmadge, yes, okay. Benjamin Talmadge lived in Setauket when he was young. And he had some friends, Caleb Brewster and Abraham Woodhull. hopefully I can get the information right.
I don't think anybody.
just have to
I don't
look-
think anybody listening is going to be like, "Oh, Maddie, you got that one wrong."
There are several books on it. George Washington's Secret Six was excellent.
Okay.
I recommend that one. That one kind of runs it all through. And so he got his childhood buddies to spy on the British, and Abraham Woodhull was the kind of the leader of it all, and they called him Culper Senior. Okay. And the intensity of trying to get him the ink and not be spotted by British, and oh, you spilled the ink, and now you've got to try to figure out how to get this rare, expensive ink back to Woodhull so he can write the messages so George Washington can see them, and you're going to try to get them to him just in time because the British are on their way, and you got to try to, it's intense. And they risked everything, absolutely everything, and
now
nobody knows about them.
And how old were they? Because I asked that with
goodness.
teenagers in the house now. These guys were not much older.
I think, if I remember right, Talmadge was 24 or 23.
Okay.
Something like that. And so they were all in
Young
school
adult.
together. And so they were quite young. Caleb Brewster, he was a whaler. And he would get the messages, and they hung up petticoats on the clothesline a certain way so that he'd know when to come in with his boat and when to stay away. And he had to try to get these messages to Talmadge. And so they all worked together, and I don't think I could convey the intensity of it all. It's
The Revolutionary War Spy Network.
And they
in Long Island.
Yeah, right close to us. Mm-hmm. And they were forgotten, they didn't talk about it. A lot of as far as I understand it, a lot of their family and friends had no idea that they did this. And a lot of them were thought to be traitors because they looked like they were for the British. Mm-hmm. So they're living in the middle of the British occupied Long Island, trying to get out, and they were never known. They were never known.
Incredible. I mean, there are so many stories of heroism from the founding fathers and folks like this that are inspiring. And a piece of it that's so inspiring to me is, like we said, these are young adults. This is the founders of our country. We're not 60, These were not the seniors. These were young men who were passionate about the future of our country, passionate about the formation of our country, and who lived and died to give us what we have today.
Absolutely.
And whether it is the secret spy network in Long Island or any other individuals, the thousands and thousands and thousands of names that are unknown, many of them nowadays, that is so inspirational to me as we think about where our state is now and where it could be in the future. And it will take, I would say, courage and hard work on the part of many. And maybe our names won't be known in the future, but if our state is turned around and in the right direction and has a positive future for the next generations to come, I would say that would be a job well done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We forget how young they were because they wore powdered wigs. Forget. They don't look
Those
young.
powdered wigs.
They throw us off. They really
do.
Quite the different fashion nowadays.
Yeah. I think that is, sometimes we give a pass. Like, you're young, you've got a lot of life to live, there's a lot to do, we're busy. No, we're not too busy to fight for freedom and to fight for liberty and maintain what folks sacrifice so much to give us.
I constantly asking myself, do I love this country? I take myself back and think about that. Do I love this country? Yes, of course I do. Of course I do. I've dedicated a lot of my life to it. I love this country. And then, would I be willing to die like they did for it? Like, that's an intense question. I don't know if I would. I think I would now, but like they did, that's the tough part. Just no shoes, not warm clothing during the Revolution, and just giving up everything.
Anyway.
No wages. Your wife and children are home without you. Can't grow your crops, and I mean,
All of those things, any one of those things would make,
Yeah.
a decent excuse,
There's
right?
no social media back then. How could you tell who won the war in North Carolina when you're in New York?
Yeah.
You can't see, you can't communicate, so you don't know how well we're doing. You're just fighting the next battle. You're just making it through. How discouraging that sounds. And they did it. They did it anyways. They didn't care. They believed in freedom. I can't imagine believing in freedom as much as that. When you hear all these stories. They were dying. They were dying. Whatever they did, they were dying. Whether it was dysentery or their feet were freezing off or whatever it was, or bullets coming at them. It's the obvious one. They were dying in awful, horrendous ways. And I don't know if I'd believe in a concept that wasn't even tried. Hadn't even been tried yet. I don't know if I believe in it that much.
It is incredible when you think about it that way. It hadn't been tried, it hadn't been done, but they knew it was possible.
How? How did they?
I mean, if you don't know it's possible, you can't fight like that. You can't
Yeah.
fight and die
Yeah.
if you don't believe that is possible.
That shows how much of an inspiration George Washington was as well. I think
That's
they had all these people around them. I mean, I don't imagine that all of them could see all these leaders we hear about in history. I don't imagine that they could see them. Everybody could see them all the time, but you knew George Washington was out there, and you read his letter or whatever, and I think that speaks very highly of him. He could lead all those men and still inspire them. That story about they were all ready to quit, and he pulls out his, I can't remember exactly at the moment what he was reading, but he pulls something out to read to them. Just when you hear the story, every time I hear the stories, you hear the gentleness, and they're all listening intently, and he pulls out his glasses and he says something like, "Not only have I grown gray in the fight of this war, I've grown blind. I've grown blind." And they'd never seen him wear glasses before. And for some reason, that touched them. Touched them enough where they were willing to fight without wages for the rest of the war.
I guess it showed his humanity.
Yes, absolutely. And he was that inspiring. That's incredible. It looked to be wonderful to have a George Washington again, someone that wants to pray like that and go out and lead a nation so humbly. Beautiful man to just read about. Warrior poet, a true warrior poet.
Yeah, true warrior poet. We live in such a fast and furious culture where there's so much coming at us all the time, and I question if such a leader is even possible in our clickbait culture.
Yeah.
But boy, it would be incredible.
Yeah, it would. It really would.
It would be incredible.
I think we've got tastes of some. I think we have some good men in leadership. They all have an element of George. It's just my father. I always think of my father. We last met at the convention.
Yep.
Or no, we didn't. I guess we met at seeing J.D. Vance that day.
Oh yes. When we were both in Bangor that day.
We really got to talk at the convention
Yes.
last, and at our meeting, our secretary got up there and spoke about the executive committee, our executive committee. And she had this, she has a great imagination. She said it all so beautifully. She said that I have associated each of these men in the executive committee with a certain movie character.
Oh.
And she was fantastic. She acted the whole thing out. She would act out a scene of a movie, and you kind of guess which
member that was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my father, she chose John Wayne Shane. So he's John Wayne Shane. He's just got that gentle. She said he kind of just walks up and takes a minute, just kind of. Now hold on there a minute, partner. Just take a minute. She says he always is ready to pray about whatever's next. Just slow down and let's think about this for just a minute.
I know our audience doesn't know your dad, but I think they just got a pretty good picture.
Yeah, well, everybody knows John Wayne. So.
Yeah.
But that's, I see that leadership, that gentle, admirable, godly quality of calm, prayerful leadership in my father.
What a good example
Yes.
for you to grow up with.
That is his point of George Washington is in him in that way. And all the other guys, everybody else has their own, but that's my dad.
How do you think that growing up in Maine, I know, Mainers, we have a certain perspective about our state. We think it's pretty much the best, or at least I do. How do you think that growing up in Maine has shaped your perspective on life and politics?
Well, that's a big question. Wow.
And you grew up in Washington County.
I grew up in a
Maine.
swamp. Yeah, my dad built our home out of the swamp. He literally raised it. We have.
He is a true George Washington.
Yes. We live in the middle of nowhere in the woods, and our area was all mud and swamp. And he cut all the trees down and used the trees to build a house. Filled it all in. Grew a business, trash business. He's a trash man, and we've just spread. We've grown more and more land. We've bought the next property over. My brother's he put a trailer out back, and so I would say that has a huge effect on my perspective in Maine. I love it. I love that part of Maine. You can just keep going in the back of the woods.
There's the homesteader
plenty of space. Plenty of space back there. My brother just got bees this week. We got a little section for the bees, and so there's another thing is I've lived in Virginia for a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
And everything's poisonous.
You can't wander through the woods and
No,
just
poison ivy. Oh, there's
things
chiggers. Oh my goodness. Don't touch that. Mushrooms. Oh, they explode and now they're in the air. Oh my god. It's awful. I'm going back to Maine and I'm staying there. I love it. I'll take the snowstorms. I don't want tornadoes. I'll take snowstorms any day.
One of my kiddos, one summer, we have wild blueberries in the woods. And he spent weeks, the entire time that they were ripe, in the woods he was probably 6 or 7. And I said, when you pick enough berries, I'll make a tart. It called for 6 cups of berries. And so it's the teeny, teeny, tiny wild Maine blueberries, which if someone's not from Maine, they may not know. I mean, you're used to buying blueberries in the store and they're big and you can get 6 cups in a pretty quick. No, when you are 6 or 7 and you are out in the woods for hours and hours and hours, I love that you can wander out in the woods in Maine and find something to eat.
That's what I was just about to say.
It just might take you weeks to get enough blueberries for a tart.
Yeah. But those blueberries, they pack a punch.
They do.
You will not be
delicious.
the same after you have a Maine blueberry. Something special about those. But I was going to say that,
Yeah.
I just went fir tipping this morning. You just pick the tips off the fir trees and spruce trees too. You just eat them. It's great. You don't have to worry about chiggers in your, up your feet or something poisonous you might step on.
Yes.
Mosquitoes are awful. Black flies are awful. I will take them over chiggers.
Yeah, I mean, I like not having any kind of poisonous snakes.
Absolutely.
And not many poisonous spiders. We don't have much of anything.
No, thank goodness. But yeah, I love Maine. You can just go out in the woods.
Yeah.
Just no problem. Nothing's going to get you. I mean, there are some things you want to watch out for, but it's not as dangerous as other places.
True.
And so we did. We go out in the woods. We go hunting. We go see what we can find in the woods to eat. That's fascinating. That's a fascinating experience. There's all kinds of stuff in the woods to eat or build or cut down.
Yes, and that's the homesteader in you.
Love it. Yeah, I'm learning, but I love it. It's another experience with God too. You just constantly absorbing all His goodness everywhere, all around you, all the time.
Yes,
wonderful.
Seeing Him in nature.
Absolutely.
And the nature He created. I think that we Mainers have a pride in being independent and yet wanting to have a sense of community. And I of course have a soft spot in my heart for Washington County. I think you guys do that like no one else. But do you think that Maine as a whole still holds on to that independence and yet community?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You go anywhere rural and you can see you go on the back roads and people just wave to you. They just want to be friendly, their neighbors and their community. I think that is even growing stronger. I think people are realizing, I think, especially after COVID, how much small towns and being in the middle of nowhere, how valuable that is. Be able to grow your own garden, be able to be left alone and not monitored by the HOA or something like that, I think that has grown a lot. And I think that's positive on every level, to care about each other. My brother is on the fire department, and I think that's really wonderful too. If anybody is looking for a way to be involved with their community and they don't know what to do, fire department, EMTs, they're always looking for somebody.
Always.
They always need somebody, the local volunteer.
My dad was on the fire department for a number of years.
Wow.
It's a great way to volunteer and be involved with the community. I mean, by and large, our fire departments here in Maine are volunteer, unless you're in a bigger city here in Maine. That's really cool. I mean, and that speaks very much to our independence, but yet community, right? Yeah. Yes, we do like to kind of live our lives and have our space and be able to do what we would like to on our property. But then also the neighbor stopped by with the abundance of zucchini, speaking from personal experience. And I love that. I love an open door policy where, it's people can just stop by and be neighborly.
Borrow a cup of sugar. It's nice.
We end up borrowing a lot from her.
So leave me alone, but if you need a cup of sugar, I'm here.
Yes. We sold our house a few years back, and we moved within the same neighborhood. And so we only moved about an eighth of a mile, literally walked our kids' trampoline down the road to the new house. And so a couple weekends ago, I did happen to notice at our old house, the rhubarb was massive and nobody was picking it. And so I reached out to the homeowners who bought it, who are lovely, and said, hey, I would love to bake you guys a pie
and trade
if we could, if I could come pick some rhubarb. So sure enough, of course, she was like, please come anytime and pick the rhubarb. And so I took a couple of the kiddos and we took a big red wagon and like rolled home with rhubarb falling out of the wagon because we still had the leaves on it and everything. But it's
so
such
nice.
Great community.
Yeah. What good thing for your kids too.
Yeah.
To learn how to go to somebody else's home and communicate with them and be respectful. This is now their rhubarb, not our rhubarb.
It's not our rhubarb.
We're gonna make them a pie to say thank you for the rhubarb.
Yes.
That was ours. Now it's theirs. What? That's so awesome for your kids.
I mean, it's so awesome for everybody, really. Yeah. Because we get a rhubarb pie, they get a rhubarb pie, everybody wins.
And the rhubarb season is short.
It is
too short. So you got to catch it.
I saw things starting to bolt. I was like, guys, you're going to lose your rhubarb. And now everybody wins instead.
Yep, absolutely. That is fantastic.
I think that a lot of people now are looking to live a more like wholesome, intentional lifestyle. I mean, just look at the number of people who are baking sourdough these days.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. What does that mean to you personally? And do you think that's a kind of passing fad? Do you think this is part of our Maine culture that's just having a resurgence? What do you think?
I hope it's not a passing fad. I really hope not. Because there's a lot, if you talk about eating wholesome or wholesome living, there's a lot involved with that we're missing because we just go to the grocery store or go to the doctor. We just do whatever they say. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't even know where meat comes from. They have no idea. They
Doesn't
just think it's just a
it's
pink,
in like a little package
absolutely.
And it has some plastic around it.
Yeah, it's what's on the shelf. They don't know what it is. They have no idea. They don't know an egg is protein from an animal. That's what I've heard anyways. I don't know how many of those people are out there, but I don't think many of them are in Maine.
No, probably not.
But I'm just saying it's really great to go back to the way God intended things to be done, to eat from the ground and go hunting and know what it costs to get our own food.
Yeah, and I don't think that's political. And there may be factions on each side
But
who
it's
have a different
become that way.
tack to it, right? But
Yeah.
like right or left, everybody needs to eat.
Absolutely.
And so, you see some folks kind of doing this farm to table. There's the farm to table movement, and others who are growing their own food. And I think all iterations of that are great because it's kind of getting us all to the same place. And what a nice place to find common ground in what we eat and
Yes.
eating, that which we grow and harvest. And, I was thinking about a friend of mine who could not be more polar opposite politically. Was a professor at a very liberal college, and she and I really connected most about food. We had kids about the same age, and she gardened and taught me a lot about gardening. And now don't look at my gardens this year, but you won't think she taught me anything. But we had and have, they moved, but had a lot of common ground there, where maybe we didn't politically so much, but we could meet with that common ground and kind of the holistic lifestyle and go from there. And it didn't have to be, kind of warring factions.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Community induced by the common need of food.
Yes.
That's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's really great. You need a cup of some zucchini. Just wait. Everybody's gonna be bringing you over zucchini, like you just said. It bonds us all together. Food bonds us together. It's not wholesome living. Isn't just about food either. I don't want to confine it to that, but it's a big part of it. Food is everything. I think we're very mixed up on what we're eating.
Well, food is everything, so my children tell me, because they want to eat it at least 3 times a day.
Absolutely. My
Sometimes
nieces
that
and
seems like a
nephews want
lot.
it 5 times a day.
I think the opposite direction of that is what we see online. There's so much negativity and polarization. And do you think that part of this movement is that people are getting tired of that, the online living and the negativity and the polarization of our culture? And so it's kind of like a little bit of a rebound?
I don't really know exactly. I think that people are, I've seen more of a turn the other way. I've seen people wanting to be more online, having a harder time staying away from the online culture, the social media culture, the
dopamine
influence
hit.
of the influence of what's out there and what could be happening, what could be. I could have that homesteading life if you're going to talk about homesteading. I think I see people going the other direction. I don't think it's entirely healthy, but there are some good things to it. You can watch how people. I've learned a lot from social media stuff. You learn different techniques, and I can do that. But if that answers your question, I think.
Yeah, I guess central to that maybe not enough of us are asking is, how do you stay centered and grounded while things are such a frenzy, while there's such negativity, trying to live a well-rounded life in a culture like this?
The only solution I know to that is God. That is it. He is everything. That's a big question too.
I mean, it's hard to find that balance, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to find that balance.
And he always brings balance. He always does. When you're trying to figure things out, and like we've talked about, there's so many things you can be doing, and then the negativity you just mentioned. And for me personally, I can only talk from my personal experiences. He's taught me, being with him and listening to what he's saying and knowing what he's told me, it keeps me grounded in, so I don't listen to the negative things people are saying. And I only listen to him. You know, he's where I get my perspective and my love and my passion and my perspective, my solutions to the problems.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of negativity, but life shouldn't be all rainbows and lollipops. Sometimes it's good to learn to deal with the negativity, and sometimes you need to step away. You need to learn that balance too. But just because it's hard, or you don't like it, or it's bad, it sounds bad, somebody saying something bad about you, or in relation to anything bad, you don't have to listen to it. You go to God with that. You give that to him if you feel like that's true. Does that answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are searching for something that grounds in the frenzy of life, and you and I share that faith and that grounding. As we wrap up today, I'd love to ask what, as people are thinking about inspiration and getting involved, do you have any recommendations? You already recommended one book, I think. And we've talked a little bit about Audible and listening to stories from history. How else would you recommend that folks get engaged, dip their toe in? If it's somebody who is around your age that is going, gosh, I'm not so sure I learned that history in school. I haven't heard these stories that Maddy told today. Where can people start?
Well, Audible is great. Audible is really great. And there's a lot of books there. I would recommend anything from Eric Metaxas. And not all of his people that he writes about are Americans, but they're inspiring. They inspire you to fight for what you have. And the wall builders, David and Tim Barton, they're incredible. And they've got this amazing vault. They just show you the most random and incredible things from history. Absolutely bizarre.
And is this, tell folks how to find wall builders? Is this online?
Wall builders is online.
Yep.
And they've got a lot of resources on YouTube. I know they teamed up with Glenn Beck, and they have the American Journey Experience. Really recommend that. My brother went last year to Texas to the American Journey Experience. He came back with a different look in his eyes. He's not the same. It was amazing. And Dave Stotts. I listen to him all the time. He's got some history. Drive Through History, Dave Stotts.
Okay. Is it a podcast?
It's not a podcast.
It's not a podcast.
It's a show.
It's a show.
And he does a lot of Bible history, but he has a whole couple series on Founding Fathers. And then he has a big series on celebrations.
So Eric Metaxas, Wall Builders, and Dave Stotts.
Drive Through History.
Drive Through History.
Yep.
Awesome.
Dave is, I'm always inspired. I just turn him on when I want to be inspired. He's just, I love the way they do the filming and the facts that he tells you and the reasons behind why you should love what you're hearing. I love it. It's great. And other than that, I'd say get out to your local monuments. Read them.
Learn your local history.
Yes.
Washington County has incredible history. I have learned a lot from folks in Washington County about the founding of our state and the fight for liberty. And it is incredible to hear the history of our state. You know, I think it's like our family vacations in Maine. And I think that sometimes we can tend to neglect our own state, right? Like, you need to go somewhere else or see something else to learn. And there's so much history in our own state that you could take a lifetime to learn it all.
Absolutely, yeah. There's little stone monuments that just get forgotten. And I think they should be read more often. But, I mean, you could walk up to a stone and read it and say, oh, nice. Go home and look that up. Or look it up right there. We have phones now. You can just look it up right there.
Use technology for good.
Yeah. Allow it to inspire you. Allow yourself to be moved by it. Allow it to give you some passion. Practice that first, and then see where that takes you. And then go to your local state your Republican committee meeting. Or anything Laurel does. Because
certainly follow Lead Maine on social media and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Thank you so much for being with us today, Maddy. I hope that this has been inspirational for our listeners and that they start digging through history and learning the history of our state and letting that inspire them to get involved and change the future of our state. Thank you so much for joining us for Speak Up with Laurel Libby. Please do subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you consume your podcasts. And we will see you next time for another episode.